For decades, unseen hands have shaped Philippine history. Secret alliances, rigged elections, and covert wars, all in the name of democracy. But whose democracy? From the rise of presidents to the fall of regimes, one force remained in the shadows: the CIA. The Cold War, a global chess game between the United States and the Soviet Union. The world stood on the brink of annihilation. Two superpowers, locked in an ideological battle, divided nations, shaped leaders, and pulled the strings of history. This was the Cold War, not just a war of weapons, but of influence, secrets, and silent coups. No country was safe from the invisible war. From proxy battles to silent takeovers, from funding rebel groups to installing puppet leaders, the Cold War's front lines weren't just in Berlin or Vietnam, but in the halls of power across the globe. The Philippines, a former American colony, became a critical piece on the board, a country the U.S. would never allow to fall into communist hands. To ensure control, the CIA moved in, shaping leaders, silencing critics, and rewriting the rules of democracy. A nation on the brink, an economy spiraling downward, and a foreign power watching, waiting, maneuvering behind the scene. In 1953, the Philippines was at a crossroads. The CIA needed a leader who would protect U.S. interests, and they found their man, Magsaysay. According to declassified records, the CIA orchestrated Magsaysay's election victory, managing his campaign, funding his propaganda, and sabotaging his opponent, President Elpidio Quirino. The CIA even drugged Quirino before a speech to make him appear incoherent, a dirty trick straight out of a spy novel. The CIA's influence didn't stop at elections. They launched covert wars, psychological operations, and terror campaigns to control the country. The primary target? The Hukbalahap, rebels fighting for land reform. But for the CIA, they were nothing more than communists who had to be stopped at any cost. CIA operative Edward Lansdale used fear tactics straight out of psychological warfare manuals. One infamous strategy? Fake vampire attacks, designed to terrify superstitious rebels into surrendering. This was war, but not the kind fought on battlefields. Then came Ferdinand Marcos, a leader with absolute power. But was he an ally or a liability? For years, the U.S. backed Marcos, seeing him as a stabilizing force in the region. But as his regime became more corrupt and oppressive, the CIA had to make a decision. As the peso plummets and inflation skyrockets, the Marcos government turns to an old ally, the United States. But American aid comes at a price: loans, military aid, intelligence operations. The CIA isn't just observing, it's engineering the survival of its most valuable asset in the region. The late 1960s and early 70s saw the Philippine economy crumble. Debt soared. Corruption spread. Desperation forced President Ferdinand Marcos to turn to the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and behind the scenes, the United States. Classified intelligence reports reveal that Manila wasn't just seeking loans, it was securing loyalty. And in Washington, policymakers saw an opportunity. A weak economy meant a stronger grip over Marcos. For the United States, stability in the Philippines meant controlling its military bases, ensuring access to vital trade routes, and keeping communist influence at bay. The Philippines of the 1970s was not just a country in crisis, it was a chessboard where superpowers played their dangerous game. Behind the facade of diplomacy, Washington's interests ran deeper than alliances. Marcos plays both sides. In public, he criticizes American imperialism. In private, he ensures their continued support. But how long can he keep this balance? September 21st, 1972, martial law is declared. With opposition crushed and the press silenced, Marcos solidified his rule. Many assume this was a purely internal power grab, but declassified documents tell a different story. The CIA knew. They watched, and they chose to stand by. Officially, Washington distanced itself. Unofficially, the Philippines remained a strategic ally, and that alliance came at a price. The turning point? The assassination of Benigno Aquino Jr. in 1983. The CIA distanced itself from Marcos, shifting support to opposition leader Corazon Aquino. 3 years later, Marcos was gone. The CIA's hand in Philippine politics did not end with Marcos. Even today, U.S. influence remains deeply embedded in the country's government, military, and economy. Elections still see foreign interference. Leaders still rise and fall with Washington's blessing. This is the story of how the CIA embedded itself into the very fabric of Philippine politics, shaping leaders, toppling regimes, and influencing history. And the question remains, how much control does the Philippines truly have over its own future?
Share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden truths of our past and present. Join the conversation in the comments below and let us know your thoughts.
This documentary is based on declassified reports, expert analyses, and historical accounts. Certain elements have been dramatized for cinematic storytelling, but the core facts remain rooted in real historical events.